Hello mga ka-generals and welcome back to Math Learning. So our topic for this moment is all about graphing exponential function or an introduction in graphing exponential function. Now, exponential functions and equations are one of the most important functions in mathematics. Exponential functions and equations have many scientific applications such as the population growth, atmospheric pressure, and radioactive decay. Exponential function is also used in finance, like finding the interest earned at the end of a certain period of time. So if you have credit card, bank account, car loan, or home loan, it is important to understand the exponential function and how they work. Now, at the end of this video, or the completion of this video, you will be able to represent an exponential function through its a table of values, graph, and equation, and also find the domain and range of an exponential function, and also you need to determine the intercept, zeros, and asymptotes of an exponential function. Now, without further ado, let us now explore the exponential function and how to graph an exponential function. Okay, graph of an exponential function. Exponential functions are functions where the variable x is, this variable x is the exponent or is in the exponent. Some examples of exponential functions are f of x is equal to 2 raised to x, f of x is equal to 5 raised to x minus 2, or f of x is equal to 9 raised to 2x plus 1. In each of these two examples, the variable x is in the exponent, which makes our examples be an exponential function. Okay, in our previous discussion, we defined exponential function as the function of the form or in the form of f of x is equal to b raised to x, where b is greater than 0 and not equal to 1. Our b here is called base, and b is a positive number other than 1, or we can say that our base must be greater than 0 and or greater than 1 but not equal to 1, because if our base is equal to 1, our function will not call an exponential function, or we have no exponential growth, because the value of that, if you have a base, is only 1. Okay, graphing exponential function in the form of f of x is equals to b raised to x. Now we will now determine the graph, or we will now going to graph the function in the form of f of x is equals to b raised to x. We have the base, which is greater than 0 and not equal to 1, and also greater than 1, and also we have this x as our exponent. Okay, to begin with graphing exponential functions, we will start with two examples. We will graph the two given exponential function by making table of values. This is very important to make a table of values, and after we have a table of values, we will now going to plot the points, and after graphing, we will take a look at their similarities and differences in terms of their graph. Now, it is really important that when creating a table of values, we will always start with the numbers for x is equal to -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Or we must have different type of numbers, some negative, some positive, and 0. You can also try another numbers or another integers that compose with negative, positive, and 0. Now let's try this mother function or this parent function f of x is equal to 2 raised to x. How are we going to graph this kind of exponential function? Okay, as I told you before, we must have, or this is really important to have, three kinds of numbers or integers: the positive, the negative, and then 0. So I get -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 as the value of our x, as we input that in our exponent of our exponent of x with the base of 2. Now let's examine this base. Our base is greater than 0 and also our base is greater than 1 and our base is not equal to 1. So we have the base of b is equal to 2. Now how are we going to find the value of f of x? Now to make it clear, we must have to substitute the value of x in our f of x. So we have f of x is equal to 2 raised to x. Now first we're going to let x be equal to negative 2. Ano po? Because this will be our first value in the table of values for us to be able to get the value of f of x. So now we have to solve that. We have to input x. We have 2 raised to x will become 2 raised to negative 2. And then now using our knowledge about the laws of exponent, we can now able to find the value of f of x here. So we have, since we have a negative exponent of 2, so we need to have the reciprocal of that. So we have 1 over 2 raised to 2 and our answer will be 1 over 4 because 2 raised to 2 is equal to 2 times 2, that is 1 over 4, or change it or convert it into decimal form for us to be able to have an easy for graphing. So we have 1/4, it will become 0.25. So our value here is 0.25. So next we have x is equals to negative 1. For x is equals to negative 1, we will just input the value of negative 1 to this 2 raised to x. So we have 2 raised to negative 1 and then we have a negative exponent, so we need to get the reciprocal of that 2 raised to negative 1. So we have 2 raised to 1 and the answer of that is 1/2, and 1/2 in decimal form is equal to 0.5. And our answer here is 0.5. Next we have if x is equal to 0. If x is equal to 0, our value here is 2 raised to x, that will become 2 raised to 0, and any number raised to 0 is equal to 1. So our value here is 1. Next we have if x is equal to 1. If x is equals to 1, we have to substitute number 1 to our given 2 raised to x. So our x is equals to 1, so it will become 2 raised to 1. And we have 2 raised to 1, that is equals to 2. Next we have if x is equal to, so I'm going to write it here, if x is equals to 2. So if x is equals to 2, we'll just substitute the value of x. So we have 2 raised to x, that is equal to 2 raised to 2 because our x here is 2, so our value of x is 2. So now let's have this one, 2 raised to 2 will become 2 times 2, that is 4. So meaning to say our value here is 4. So meron na tayong nakitang nakumpleto na natin yung table of values. And after we completed that table of values, we're now going to find or we're now going to determine the ordered pairs we have na nakuha natin. And after that, we're now going to plot that ordered pairs. So we have the ordered pairs of negative 2 and 0.25. And also we have the ordered pair of negative 1 and 0.5. And also we have the ordered pair of 0 and 1, and also we have the ordered pair of 1 and 1 comma 2, and then last we have 2 comma 4. That will be our ordered pair. So pagkatapos po natin yan, i-graph na po natin sila in our Cartesian plane. So we have this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. ito pong pinaka-importante sa ating pag-graph. Para makuha natin yung gusto nating behavior ng graph, it is also important to have an equal graph in creating the table or in creating the numbers in the Cartesian plane. Dapat meron tayong equal division of that gap. Ano po, etong space natin dito. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's have first our first ordered pair. So we have negative 2 and 0.25. So we have negative here, negative 2 and 0.25. So meaning to say, it will pass to this area, and then we have negative 1 and 0.5. Negative 1 and 0.5, so meaning to say, nandito po siya. And then we have 0 and 1, so we have 0 and 1. And then next, we have 1 and 2. 1, our x here is 1, and then we move to 2. So, nandito po siya. And then we have 2 and then 4. We have 2 and 4. Okay, we have now this graph. Ano po? So, eto, napalat na natin yung mga ordered pairs. After we plot, we need to graph. Ano po? We need to trace this one as a smooth graph. Ano po? Or smooth curve. So, we have this curve. So, let's try another color of pen. So, we have this red line. So, ito na po yung magiging behavior ng graph. Na po, using our parent function, f of x is equals to 2 raised to x. 2 raised to x is our parent function, ano po, or mother function ng pag-graph natin sa exponential function. Yan po yung nagiging basehan natin, ano po. So, meaning to say, ito yung
2 and 4. Ito naman yung 1, 2. Ito naman po, 0 and 1. Ito naman yung negative 1 and 0.5. And then also last, we have negative 2 and 0.25. And tapos na po natin siyang i-graph. And that will be the graph of f of x is equals to 2 raised to x.
And also we have horizontal asymptote of y is equals to 0, because as you can see, the graph will just approach to this line, ano po, to this y is equals to 0. This line is y is equals to 0. It also means that hindi po siya lalampas dyan. So the graph will just going to approach to this y is equals to 3 equals to 0, but will never intersect to this horizontal asymptote. Also, the graph of f of x or the graph of exponential function have horizontal asymptote. Depende po kung ano yung given. Basta po yung graph ng exponential function has a horizontal asymptote. So in this function f of x is equals to 2x, our horizontal asymptote here is y is equals to 0. It will just approach to this asymptote, but it will never be touch this asymptote y is equals to 0. This will be our horizontal asymptote is equals to 0. And that will be the graph of f of x is equals to 2 raised to x. As you can see, by plotting the 5 points in the table and then connecting the points, so we get the graph, and notice that as x values get smaller, so we have x is equals to negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3, and etc. So the graph of function gets closer and closer to the x-axis, but never touch the x-axis. So this will be our x-axis here. So this means that there is a horizontal asymptote at the x-axis, or y is equals to 0. So now let's try another example. So the graph of f of x is equals to 1/2 raised to x. What will be the value of f of x is we have the base of, our base here is greater than 1, ano po, because 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. we all know that our base is greater than 0 and our base is not equal to 1. So therefore, this is an exponential function. So now, how are we going to find the value of f of x? So we have these values of x, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and then 2. So these values or these integers has negative 0 and then a positive 1. So dito po sa mga nakuha nating x value dito, makukuha natin yung trends ng ating graph or the behavior of our graph because meron tayong tatlong classification ng integers, the negative 1, 0, and then the positive number. Okay, now, what is the value of f of x if we have the first value of x is equals to negative 2 and we have our function 1/2 raised to x and we have to substitute the value of x which is negative 2 here in our variable x. So we have 1/2 means 0.5 raised to negative 2 is equals to 4. Ano po? So meaning to say we have this 4. You can also use your calculator. Now, what about if x is equals to negative 1? So if x is equals to negative 1, so we have 1/2 raised to x that will be equal to 1/2 raised to negative 1. So we have 1/2 raised to negative 1 that will be equal to 1/2 is equals 1/2 raised to negative 1 is equals to 2. And we have also if x is equals to 0, so we have 1/2 raised to 0 and we all know that any number raised to 0 is equals to 1. So we have this 1 here. And also we have if x is equals to 1, what will be the value of our f of x? We have 1/2 raised to 1 because our x here is 1, so I already substituted it. So we have 1/2 raised to 1 is equals to 1/2 itself. So 1/2 is equals to 0.5. Mas maganda po na ilalagay natin siya or i-convert natin yung fraction, our final answer, into decimal form para mas madali natin siyang i-graph. So last we have if x is equals to positive 2, so we have 1/2 raised to 2 that will be equal to 0.25 or 1/4 because we are just going to substitute these 2 into this one and also this one. So we have 1/4 and convert that fraction into decimal. So we have 0.25. So we have this 0.25. And now we have the ordered pair of
negative 2, 4. We have negative 1, 2. We have 0, 1. We have 1, 0.5. And also we have 2, 0.25.
We all know that our x here is this value and also f of x is just the same as our y. So our y here is 4, 2, 1, 0.5 and 0.25. Now, how are we going to graph that value? Ano po? So ganito lang po siya. This is our x-axis and y-axis and then this one is x-axis. Okay, now let's plot this negative 2 and 4 first. So we have negative 2 and 4. So right here, that will be our negative 2 and positive 4. Next, we have negative 1 and 2. So we have negative 1 and 2. It's negative 1 and then 2. Next, we have 0 and 1. So we have the 0. So this will be our 0 and 1. Ano po? 0 and 1. And also we have 1 and 0.5. So we have this 1. Okay, this is positive, not negative. Ano po? So we have 1 and 0.5. So 0.5 is here. So we have 1 and 0.5 as our x and y, or ordered pair. And last, we have 2 and 0.25. So this part is 2 and 0.25. And then, as we plot that point, we are now going to graph or draw a smooth curve. We are now going to draw a smooth curve that will pass all the points that we have plotted. So the graph is like this one. So this graph is 1/2 raised to x, or f of x is equals to 1/2 raised to x. Ano po? So this implies that by plotting the points in the table of values above and connecting these points or the points, we get the graph shown at above or the right here. Etong graph na to, tinutukoy natin. Notice that as x values get larger, we have x is equals to 1, 2, 3, or etc. The graph of the function gets closer and closer to the x-axis, but it will never touches the x-axis. This means that there is a horizontal asymptote at x-axis, or y is equals to 0. So we have this graph, ano po, yung sa taas, so we have this one. As x, this one, x, as x value get larger and larger, so we have this 1, 2, 3, and so on. So yung value ng x natin is, or the graph of our function is going, or will going to get closer and closer to our x-axis, but it will never be touched, or it will never touches this x-axis. So that means our horizontal asymptote here is x-axis, or y is equals to 0. So that will be our HA, or horizontal asymptote. Now let's move on to the similarities and differences of the said graph, yung na-graph natin previously. So in our example 1, this is our graph, ano po. And also for example 2, ito yung naging graph natin. So ano kaya ang pagkakaiba at pagkakapareho ng dalawang graph na yan? So these are the similarities and differences of the above graph. So let us analyze. Okay, first thing is that there's similarities. The domain for each example is all real numbers, because as you can see, domain stands for the x value. So as we take on to the different x values with positive, negative, and 0, so yung graph natin is we're going to move from left to right, or from right to left, upward, ano po. So napapansin nyo, habang palaki ng palaki or paliit ng paliit yung value ng x natin, it will just move up to the right or to the left. And also, our domain is the set of all x values, or the set of all real numbers. And also the range for each example is also all positive real numbers, because as you can see, we have this boundary which is called our asymptote here. We have the asymptote here, and we all know that our x-axis or our y value here is from 0 is greater than 0 rather until infinity of y value. So we have, hindi naman siya lumagpas or nag-intersect dito sa horizontal asymptote na to. Kaya yung magiging y value natin or range natin is greater than 0. So our range here is greater than 0. Next, we have also both graph pass through the point 0 and 1. or the y-intercept in each graph is equals to 1. As you can see, these two given or these two function pass this y-intercept at 0 and 1. 1 here is our y value and that is our y-intercept. So, parehas po ng graph na yan is nag-touch or nag-pass through 0 and 1 or the y-intercept. And then both graph are get closer and closer to the x-axis but do not touch the x-axis. So each graph has a horizontal asymptote at the x-axis or y is equals to 0. Now, ano naman yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa? So as you can see in our example 1, the graph goes upward as it goes from left to right, making it as increasing function. So nakikita nyo, it will move upward from left to right. Ano po? Ito, from left to right. So this means this is increasing function. That is an increasing function, and also an exponential function that goes up from left to right is called also the exponential growth. This is also an exponential growth. On the other hand, this function, this example number 2, is a decreasing function because the graph goes down from left to right. So this is a decreasing function. And also, if we have exponential growth here, this one is an exponential decay. So meaning to say, if we have the base that is greater than 1, we have an exponential growth if we have this form of 2 raised to x. And also if we have the base that is greater than 0 but less than 1, we have a decreasing function or we have this exponential decay. Ano po? So that will be the similarities and differences of these two graphs. Ano po? Now, by using the features listed above, we should be able to create the mental image of what the graph should look like before actually drawing the graph. So let us consider the following exponential functions and see if you can develop a mental image of the graph. Now, if we have this example, f of x is equals to 3 over 2 raised to x. So the graph of this one, take note that we need to take a look at the base. If the base is greater than 1, so therefore, it will have an exponential growth. And also, it will pass through the point 0 and 1. And also, there should be a horizontal asymptote at x is equals to, or at x-axis, or y is equals to 0. So we have 3 over 2. That means that the equivalent value of that is 1.5, and we all know that 1.5 is greater than 1. So the base is greater than 1. So we have the exponential growth, and the graph of that one will going to rise, or it will going to from left to right, it will tend to upward from left to right. And also in example number 2, we all know that our base here is less than 1 and also our base is greater than 0. So we all know that 3 over 4 is an equivalent value of 0.75. So that means we have the exponential decay because the base is less than 1 but greater than 0. And also the graph should pass through the point 0 and 1. So meaning to say there should be a horizontal asymptote at x-axis or y is equals to 0. So meaning to say the behavior of the graph is it will just move downward from left to right. So that is exponential decay. This one exponential growth. So that is the differences of these two given examples. By knowing its base, we can also, with the given function of this form, so we can now able to develop a mental image of each graph. Ano po? By knowing the base that is greater than 1, or if it is less than 1 or greater than 0. So now, take a look at this graph. Okay, ito na po yung naging graph ng above given. So we have this graph, and this graph here is an exponential growth, and this one is an exponential decay. Ito naman yung exponential growth, because it is increasing function, and also this one is a decreasing function. Pababa siya. Ito naman pataas. Ano po? And also, paano ko kaya siya nakuha? So, simple lang po, just follow the rules. Ano po? So, meron tayong laging given x value that have a negative, 0, and positive values of x. And also, we need to substitute the value of x to the given. So, for example, we have the given f of x is equals to 3 over 2 raised to x. So we have f of x is equals to 3 over 2 raised to x. We will just going to substitute the value of x. If we have x is equals to 2, this one, so we have to substitute that value to 3 over 2 raised to negative 2. And the value of that will be that is 0.44, or we have this vinculum here, or we can also write this one as 0.44. So meron tayong 0.44 here. And also we have negative 1. So we have x. If x is equals to negative 1, so simply substitute that negative 1 to this value, or to this x here. So we have 3 over 2, that is 3 over 2 or 1.5 raised to negative 1, that is equal to 0.6666, repeating number or repeating decimal, or we have 0.67. So we have here 0.67. So ganyan lang po yung pag-compute or pag-solve ng exponential function. Dapat meron kayong values of x, and then substitute the value of x in the given function. Eto, dito sa given function natin. Kailangan lang natin i-substitute dito kung ano po yung nasa table of value na given. Ano po? Same as this one. Now, let us summarize. So, exponential growth and exponential decay. So, now, if we are given an exponential function and asked to predict if the resulting graph would be exponential growth or exponential decay, how can we correctly answer the question without actually drawing the graph? Now, the key to correctly answering the question is to look at the base of the exponential function. So, sabi ko kanina, we need to look at the base. Now, example, f of x is equals to 5 over x raised to x. So, this example is an exponential decay. Bakit kaya? Because, as you notice, the base b is 5 over 6, and that is less than 1. We can conclude that the graph goes downward as it goes from left to right, making it as decreasing function. Now, how about f of g is equals to 9 over 8 raised to x? We all know that this example is an exponential growth. Bakit kaya? Because, as you notice, the base b, 9 over 8, is greater than 1. So that will be, also we can conclude that the graph goes upward as it goes from left to right, making an increasing function. Ano po? So, 9 over 8 also, para makuha natin talaga, 9 over 8 is equal to 1.125. We all know that this value is greater than 1. And that is on how to graph the exponential function with the exponential growth and exponential decay. So I hope that you really understand or understood this discussion, because this introduction to the exponential function is very important as we go to the next lesson, which is knowing the vertical shift and horizontal shift of the exponential function. So our next lesson is all about the vertical and horizontal shift of an exponential function. So the prerequisite skill of that lesson is this exponential function or this lesson. So thank you and goodbye.